Hey everyone, Baron here. Welcome back to a gas mask video. In today's video, we're going to be going over one of the lesser known models of the US service gas mask. Technically, this is not a US service gas mask. This is a US Army Diaphragm gas mask. Specifically, the M3 Diaphragm. What the M3 Diaphragm gas mask was developed as a reworked service gas mask facepiece, i.e. the M2A2 or M2A1 Army service gas mask facepiece, and it was developed with a diaphragm assembly on the front of the mask for individuals who needed their voice heard specifically. With the older diaphragm masks falling out of service, this would take their place. The older diaphragm masks being the M1, M10A1, the M2, and stuff like that, all those diaphragm masks from the early extremely early 20th century. Around 1921 is when the M1 diaphragm mask was developed. The M1 diaphragm mask started out basically as the standard production M3 diaphragm, which you see here with these two masks. With the earlier production models seeing the standard black steel painted hardware, and then the later production models with the gray painted steel hardware. Now, if you go watch like older videos from maybe Duke or GasMaskBunker Duke, you would notice that he would call them the transitional M3 diaphragms on the left, the gray ones. That is simply not true, and that is just collector jargon. These are just standard regular M3 diaphragms. They would just be called the M3 9014 or M3 9014A1 Army Diaphragm gas mask. There was no transitional in that. It would just be the later production ones. Getting around to 1942, the M3 diaphragm mask would have been replaced by the M3A1 diaphragm mask, of which I'll make a video about soon. And this would lead the US into the end of the Second World War in 1945. The final use of the M3 diaphragm mask would lie in the very late war era with some experimentation with the M8 Snout mask experiments and trials and stuff like that, which in its earlier phases would see the M3 facepiece, the M3 diaphragm facepiece, being modified to take a 60mm canister, much like the M9 field protective mask. You can actually see a mock-up of this style from GasMaskBunker, Duke Nukem 3D. They dubbed this the M3A3 Diaphragm Assault Mask, which I don't believe that's the real technical designation, but I'll put up a picture here of the one in, I believe, the Fort Leonard Wood Archives. The carriers for these would be just a standard M4 or M4A1 Army Service Mask carriers, restamped or just regularly stamped with Army Diaphragm Mask or Army Diaphragm Gas Mask. The one on the left is unfortunately, it is restamped Mask Gas reconditioned for training, because this one is a training recondition of the M3 diaphragm mask. This one is a standard regular conditioned Army diaphragm gas mask. Sometimes these masks were actually reconditioned possibly post-war, or maybe very, very late wartime and even post-war, and they added an M10 or M10A1 lightweight service gas mask canister to the end of the hose, of course. But what they would normally do for training is sometimes they would just nip off the end of the hose instead of just taking off the wiring and the tape and stuff. For this one, they thankfully didn't nip off the hose, and they just took off the wiring and the tape and the filter. Sometimes they would actually wire and tape on new M10 or M10A1 canisters. This is seldom seen and very uncommon to see. And sometimes they would be issued maybe M6 carriers and stuff like that, but of course, like I said, very rare to see. Most of the time, the M6 spearhead valve you would see under this, or right above this Y-tube assembly, they would be dated by Continental Tire and Rubber Company, usually 1941. I believe these masks only came in size universal. Correct me if I'm incorrect, though. But let's get started with, okay, I apologize, the light is doing that retarded thing again. Of course, you can see 6-point harness, beige fabric straps right here. At Z-5, of course, our reworked our Army Service Mask facepiece with this little assembly right here. This mask is dated believe August of 1941. Experimental number E42R56 by Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, lot P133-1. I forgot this was a Goodyear mask. I thought it was another General Tire mask, because apparently, if you go on the market right now and look for an M3 Diaphragm mask, every single one you're going to find is going to be a General Tire and Rubber Company M3. That's ridiculous. Spearhead valve is actually from OS. I have no clue what OS is. It is dated February of 1941. You can't even see that. I heavily apologize. But yeah, that's the spearhead valve. The head harness for this mask, I don't entirely know what the head harness is called for this mask. You see it's just like a block for it right here. I believe these would also be used on the M1A1 and M1A2 masks, like this style. I don't know if it's the same style or the same model, but it's the same style with like the squarish head pad with like the little poke right here at the middle or at the bottom. See? 27-inch long hose. It's very, very supple. There's a little tiny like poke right here from probably when they were removing everything. Lot C1. Let's get this mask off the head so I can show you the interior, because it is mint. This thing is actually mint. The harness is mint. There's a little bit of elasticity like gone from this harness, but that's obvious to be seen on these harnesses. They're over 80 years old, so almost 90 years old by now. Sorry. I really hate trying to take off harnesses on masks when they're on the head, because it always gives my fingers rug burn every single time I try to do it. And let's take the mask off the head. Sorry. And let's pull the harness over. I know you're not really seeing the best angle right now. And here's the interior. As you can tell, the speech cone is completely removed. You can see the outlet valve on the very bottom. And you can see the cellophane wrap with a fingerprint in there. I didn't even realize that. There's a dirty fingerprint in there from probably the soldier that was reissuing this. And you can see it's literally just a Army service facepiece, but once again reworked. See, there's some writing in there, probably like Q1 or something. It's a very, very minty facepiece. Now let's actually get on to the M3 diaphragm, not the late one, the earlier M3 diaphragm. I paired this anti-dim stick, the earlier brand one, with it. Let me actually take the hose off this so I can show you this very clearly. The hose comes off of this example. The hose comes off of nearly every single M3 diaphragm model I have. This one is in rather dilapidated condition. Of course, you can see this area is coming off quite badly on this. I believe I have stabilized it though. There's a lot of that stuff in there. Hopefully that's not what I think it is. This one is from Continental Rubber Company, January of 1941. You see the black. I used to think it was brass, but I think it's steel. Maybe it's brass, I don't know. The actual facepiece is molded really weirdly. So there's a lot of really like weird mold stuff and everything. Which makes me think this is a very, very early, possibly experimental model, because it actually lacks the experimental stamp. There's no experimental stamp. I've never seen this before. It's February or I'm gonna stroke. February of 1941, dated lot C1 by General Tire and Rubber Company, completely lacking the E40 something mold stamp or the experimental stamp. This could be an experimental facepiece. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. It just seems like a very weird mold. There's some like mold defects all over the rubber and everything. It's just a very, very weird facepiece. I'd hate to see an experimental mask get in this bad condition, but what can you do? Now let's get to the inside. I'm not sure why it's in two pieces. Let's see the interior. You can see the speech cone is still there. That is by General Tire and Rubber as well. You can see the GN stamp right there, and the same font is on the M9 masks and the M9 C15 valves. See, and then you poke under there. See the outlet valve? Very cool. Very, very cool mask. It's a solid mask. It's just a shame that the whole diaphragm assembly is coming off that badly. And you can see this mask utilizes an M9A1 canister, a very heavy M9A1 canister. Not a heavyweight. Don't call these a heavyweight. I hate when people do that. I used to call them that, so I can't be a hypocrite. Very, very malformed hose, unfortunately. It was probably just sitting like this for however many years until I got this. I paid way too much for this, but you know, I bought this not that long ago. I was stupid when I first got into my obsession with the U.S. Army Service Mask face or series. See, this one is also dilapidated. One of the straps was ripped off a long time ago. Weird brown or beige head pad with black straps. Lot 64 EA. EA Games. Or EA Sports. Something. It's in the retard. I don't know. Bag is stamped Army Diaphragm gas mask this time. You can't even see that. I apologize. I'm not going to move my camera though. Let's get the newspaper back in there. Probably shouldn't be using newspaper for this. That's probably why it's deteriorating still. But I apparently don't care about my masks well enough. I'll replace it with some other packing paper. But yeah, really neat series. Let me actually read up a little bit on the M3A1 from my Instagram post, and I'll get back to you guys here in a second. Let me get this hose back on real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, I didn't really see anything that special on my Instagram post about the M3A1. I have a few M3A1s I will make videos on, or a video on, because I'll only make a video on the two I have, like I'm doing right now. But I'll do that later tonight maybe. But that's about it for this video. Hopefully you guys like this. I'm trying to get all my masks onto YouTube so I can document them properly. But that's about it. I will see you guys in the next video. Later.